Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches have popped up in my life a couple of times. This is another peanut butter and jelly sandwich that popped up in my life. It literally changed my life. I was in radio and then in television and then in film production and did okay. Was lucky. And I had a radio station up in a middle Georgia town about big as my thumbnail. The joke about that radio station used to be that you could open the front door and holler and be heard further than the signal coming off the tower would go. It was not much stretch in that at all. Anyhow, that radio station almost literally drove me nuts. And the day I was able to lock the door behind me for the final time and walk away was an extremely happy day in my life. I took some time off, went to a buddy of mine's house in Georgia, and I stayed there for about 10 days or so. And all I did was fish. I love to fish, still love to fish. And the crappie, they call them crappie or sockeye or calico bass or whatever you want to call them. We call them crappie. Were biting. They were just coming off the bed and they were going to town. And I loaded my buddy's freezer with crappie like you wouldn't believe. One afternoon after I had come in from fishing, I pulled my boat out from behind the truck and started to go home over to my buddy's house. And I looked down at the seat next to me and I said, oh my goodness, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich there I had made that morning and had forgotten all about it. So I stopped the truck, parked it in a spot, took the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in hand and walked down to the dock and was standing there pinching pieces of peanut butter and jelly sandwich off and throwing them at the ducks, and they were having a good time eating them. While I was doing that, somebody walked up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder. It nearly scared me to death. And said, hey, the guy up there at the bait shop told me that you were on television for a while and that you love to fish and you're a pretty darn good fisherman. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, we're going to be here for a couple of days. We're thinking about putting a fishing tournament together, and we'd like for somebody to guide us on this lake that knows a little bit about the lake, but we don't want to hire a professional guide because we don't want to call attention to ourselves. And I said, well, talk to me. He said, we'll give you $150 a day, and we'll feed you, and you can keep all the fish that we catch. I said, hey, that sounds like a pretty darn good deal. So I accepted his offer, and we went fishing. Boy, did we catch the fish. It was almost like shooting fish in a barrel. They were on fire. And after we finished, I think the second, maybe third day of fishing, he bid me adieu, gave me his business card. I don't want to use the man's real name because I don't want to stir some ill feelings. I'm going to leave it at that. There were ill feelings between me and him, but there are ill feelings among the group that he was representing. Gave me his business card and he left, and I left too. 2 weeks later, I get a telephone call off the back of that card. I had put my buddy Billy's telephone number on, and he called Billy and left a message for me to give him a buzz back. The man who tapped on my shoulder owned one of the biggest marine manufacturing companies in the entire United States. Fishing tackle, fishing poles, reels, trolling motors, you name it, he owned it. And he said, we would like to talk to you about coming to work for us. That's where I got my start. It was easy to get going after that because the sponsors in that were primarily the man who walked up and tapped me on the shoulder. And then when I needed a sponsor for an organization to allow kids to hunt or fish wherever they wanted on our dime, The only thing that I had to do was tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, we've got some kids that need to go fishing. And he would always belly up to the bar and drop whatever money we needed to take 1-2 dozen kids fishing. And it was a good relationship. And it was all because of a stupid peanut butter and jelly sandwich that I forgot to eat that was rotten in the front seat of my truck. If it hadn't been for that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you would not be sitting there looking at me right now. And that's the honest goodness truth. Strange tale, but true.